Something I've learned about God is that, and I heard this from somebody and it made so much sense. It's that God is a gentleman. He's going to knock at your door. He's never going to bust it open or find a way to sneak in through the back. He's always going to knock because a relationship isn't built on forcing anything. The beautiful thing is that God is not going to condemn you or judge you or do any of that simply because you don't open a door. Rather, he's going to take everything into consideration about your life. Everything you lived that has led you up to that point where you can hear the knocking, or whether you open a door or not, to God, he's going to take all that into account. The decisions you made in your life, what you've been surrounded by, where you were born, like every single experience you've had, whether good or bad, traumatic even, he's going to take every single thing into consideration because it's what shaped your habitual way of thinking. It's what set up your perspective of life, all your opinions, perception of what reality is to you. God understands all of it, and he knows that your experience has led up to this very point. He's going to knock in ways where you will hear him, and he will give you the opportunity to open that door or not. He will give you a taste of what is to come with him if you just simply allow him in. And the reason he doesn't break the door, he busts the door open or does any of that sort, is because he gave you free will to choose. If he didn't give you free will, if he forced everything, that's not love. You wouldn't want to be with somebody when you're forcing them to be with you. Because that's not love. That's robotic. That's not love. It's a robot. You're a robot with no decision. You're yielding like a slave to your master. Now the beautiful thing is God makes a huge distinction between slavery and servitude. And he's asking you to come serve, not because he's telling you to, but because he knows that's what will fulfill you. A way of serving that will glorify him. And the only way to serve people is by understanding what it means to be served. So God has to serve you first so you understand how to pour to the people around you from this cup of water that you are trying to fill up for yourself. And you can fill it up with anything. You can fill it up with your personal ideas, everything that you think is best, right? Or people will call it brainwashing. You can fill it up with whatever you want. But at the end of the day, is that cup good for you? When you drink it yourself, does it make you better? Does it make you worse? Does it make you happy or sad? And by what standard are you deciding these things? By your own standards that can easily be changed by people's influence, or by society's opinion or standard, which can also be changed and has changed over hundreds of years. What was deemed okay is no longer okay. What was deemed not okay is now okay. So there has to be an absolute measurement that will never fail you, that will always bring you fulfillment, despite the circumstances you're living in. And the only and I've only been able to find that in Jesus, because he is fully honest and transparent. In this world you will face suffering. In this world you will not have it easy. He's not here to paint rainbows. Oh, you're gonna be always happy. You're always no. What he does promise though is peace and fulfillment despite your circumstances. He says, "Take heart, for I overcame the world, and my spirit is in you." So if I was able to do it despite the suffering I lived for you, because he did it for us, then you can do it too. And all these wonderful things only come when you allow him into your life, when you open the door to him so that he can start cleaning your room, that he can start showing you where to put things in order. And this is something that happens over time, not overnight. Just accepting Christ into your life isn't the whole picture. It's a big part when you're accepting his salvation, his grace. But then you start learning, understanding, what does that even mean to surrender? What does that even mean to be loved by him? What does love look like to him? Not to how the love looks like to the world, because like I said, everybody has their own definition of love. But what's an absolute type of love that is never failing, and the one that is described in the Bible, the one that Jesus talks about, is a sacrificial love. A love that is merciful and patient and gentle and kind and cemented in truth. It is not forced, or you don't boast upon it. And that's in Corinthians. See, I don't know the verses. I don't know verses, or I can't tell you, oh, Corinthians says this and that, but I do know what I've read. I do know what I've learned from God. I do know what he's taught me. It's the only love that makes, it's the only solution. If everybody followed this type of love, there'd be no hate in the world. And only Jesus preached about this love, to love your enemies, to give your other cheek, to give to the least of those among you. Now, granted, there might be, other religions who do say give, give to the needy, give to the poor, right? Like, like Islam, like one of the five pillars, I think, is one is give alms to the poor. And that's awesome. But only Jesus said, love your enemies. And he lived it. He lived the example of what he preached. And to me, that's like so fascinating. It's like so mind blowing because I've never heard of somebody willingly suffer the way he did. And his only answer to that, the reason he chose to suffer, that he allowed himself to suffer, because he had the Spirit of God. Many times in the Bible it says that I and the Father are one. He took lordship of the Sabbath, which only God can do. He forgave sins, which only God can do. He did miracles. And in the Old Testament, there's so many prophecies that he fulfilled, giving sight to the blind, spiritual liberation, all these things that are in the book of Isaiah and other Old Testament books. He lived it when he says, God, why have you forsaken me? It's like, no, he's referencing Isaiah because that's written in Isaiah. He is literally pointing to his perfect mission, meaning that he knew all along his purpose, which means that he is fulfilling what God spoke because he is God. And not only that, he resurrected. Thomas said, my Lord and my God. And that's awesome. The more I think about it, the more awesome it becomes. And you also have to realize that him being God chose to humble himself for our sake. He chose to be betrayed. He chose to be lied about. He chose to be persecuted. He chose to be misunderstood. He accepted all that burden. He accepted the ridicule, the mockery, the slander, the lies, the beating, the whipping, the humiliation that he lived through, and the pain. And the only reason he did it, the only reason he did all this is out of love. Now tell me, where have you heard that kind of story anywhere else? He let his enemies beat him. When he had the power of 70 legions ready to draw their sword and destroy all earth, he said no. He said, it is my Father's will to save us. That act of love can't be ignored, especially when that love is the love that this world needs. And as some would call it, as fruity as it sounds, as weird or sensitive as it may sound, it's the only solution.